It's my pleasure to invite you to today's engagement and our panel around interfacing and growing the nutraceuticals and well-being industries through IK-based industries and innovation. And South Africa and the African continent possesses a rich reservoir of indigenous knowledge that has supported for many generations community health, healing, nutrition, and the well-being. And this presents a unique opportunity for us as Africans, as the natural health and well-being sectors are the fastest growing markets globally. How often are you seeing people going for wellness retreats? And they're going to the East, or they're going to South America to explore these. So we are now saying, how do we bring credibility to the process? How do we now take our IK-based innovation and create well-being industries around it? International organizations like the World Health Organization support local industrialization of the sector and the inclusion of these natural health and medical practitioners as co-owners of the manufacturing and supply value chains. DSTI has established the African Natural Medicines and Cosmeceutical platforms that conduct research on priority research health conditions such as cancer, diabetes, there's HIV, there's mental wellness. And with the regulatory changes that we are seeing, South Africa is now in the process of building product development and manufacturing industries. And this is where IKS-based innovations have an opportunity to step in. The challenge we are facing is how do we transform this knowledge, policies, and infrastructure into credible, scalable, and globally competitive innovation ecosystems that create societal impact, economic opportunities, and improved quality of life for our people. I'm therefore very privileged to introduce our panelists for today's session, and this includes our Professor Neba from UKZN. That's my hometown, my first degree home. Prof. Motale Pula from University of Free State. Prof. Namritha from University of Pretoria. Mrs. Pateka from CSIR. Prof. Makotso from Northwest University. And we have two ARC representatives. I wonder what is the value add today. Dr. Mishak. There we go, and Dr. Daphne. Right, so welcome. I think please let us join hands and bring them on board with a round of applause. So of course we are questioning what is it that they bring as we have this conversation today around growing health and well-being industries through IK-based innovations. So let me afford each of our panelists 2 minutes, I'll be keeping time, around your expertise and capabilities and what health and well-being solutions do you offer or your institution offers for the African continent. Without further ado, let's start with Prof. Neba.
Not sure whether it's still morning or
midday.
Good day. Good day, colleagues and everyone. I must say it's an unusual circumstance that we meet this way. We normally work as a consortium and supporting each other in the work we do, because developing products is not really a competency of one institutions, so we need each other. But today, I guess the idea is an investment summit. It's good to say what do we have at UKZN that we use. So in about 2007, the university allocated a dedicated space, a traditional medicine laboratory. It's about 1,000 square meters for the work we do. We are not a specialized laboratory in that we're not chemists, we're not microbiologists or virologists. So a lot of the work we do is preparatory work in our space, preparing the samples whether we want to freeze dry for extraction, spray dry. And then we have a dedicated tissue culture laboratory and flow cytometry for where we work with all sorts of cells, from cancer to immunology, and a range of that, from where we have really, which allows us, in a sense, to test the concept, a proof of concept, for then further development. Where work is specialized, we collaborate with other laboratories, whether it's HIV, with virology labs. For cancer, we work at the moment with Northwest University for the models they have on cancer. So we have also been allocated a space. We've got a 500-meter square building that we're developing now for pre-industrial manufacturing, so that when research has been done on the various products, they don't go back still in a brown bottle of Smirnoff or wrapped in a Sunday Times paper, but they have proper concepts that they can take to industry for further market-oriented research. So that space, we call it Hluma for small enterprises. Hluma means grow your products, and we also collaborate with agriculture for the cultivation or production of such medicines. So in summary, that's who we are. That's what we have. That's what we offer, and from diabetes to HIV to immunomodulation, and of course cancer. That's what we do. Thanks.
Thank you, Prof. I know you work as a consortium, but I think for the interest of our colleagues and our delegates here, it's nice to showcase and profile how this works. Yeah? So, Professor Matlala.
Thank you so much, Madam. Maybe before I talk about what we do, I want to talk about 2 or 3 facts, and then also the disparities. And that explains why we established what we do. Very often we hear about Africa's biodiversity, its richness, and being one of, one of the many, biodiverse systems in the world. But also we hear that a third of all our prescription medicines that you find currently today have been derived from natural sources. And those prescription medicines, or those medicines that are derived from natural sources, we know a fact that they treat 90% of all currently known human diseases. But what is interesting is, as of 2025, last year, when you look at the herbal medicine market share by region, the Americas, excluding Latin America or South America, so North America, takes about 29% of the herbal medicine market share, Europe 34%, Asia 25%, and then South America 8%, Africa only 4%. And interestingly, you look at Latin America, which is your Brazil, it is the most biodiverse. You look at Africa, only taking 4% of the market share of herbal medicines, but it's the most biodiverse. The question is, why? It was then based on that we established at the University of the Free State, within the Department of Pharmacology, School of Clinical Medicine, the African Medicines Innovations and Technology Development. Its purpose was to then develop grassroots innovations and then add value through science and give those products an international perspective, and develop products where consumers would have confidence in them, but also develop products that are fit for their intended purpose, so that then we can redress the market share disparities. Pharmacology is a study about medicines. It is the study about what, in simple terms, medicines do to your body and what your body does to the medicines. So we do develop medicines. We develop medicines from the beginning, from the knowledge that's happening in our villages, and through that we want then also to popularize traditional medicine within our communities, within our schools, within our primary, education, so that the children become proud of their traditional medicines. But we do that also to develop good, scientifically value-added products for things such as your cancers, your diabetes. We do that through formulating and making those products presentable, acceptable, of good quality. And that's what we refer to, that we develop products that are safe, that are effective, and that are actually the best that you can find at any given time. And what we then, I think, do, we run those from clinical, basic research to clinical trials. We do formulation studies, and we can develop different dosage forms, tablets, mouth sprays, throat sprays, transdermal patches. And lastly, Chair, I think what we do as the African Medicines Innovations and Technology Development is that our research needs to influence and drive policy. We do that, for instance, using, the cannabis research that we do, where we have been instrumental, one, in driving policy where you could identify quickly, conclusively, between hemp and cannabis. But also now we are busy trying to develop studies that will look into oral dosage forms of cannabis and their implications. We are now developing a WHO standard, current good manufacturing practices pharmaceutical industry, so that we can play in that space of redressing the market share and taking up, Africa to utilize its biodiversity. There is science, there is knowledge, and I think we are competitive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. I have personally visited your laboratories, and I know how exceptional they are. Dashni?
Greetings, everyone. So, I've actually been working with my colleagues here, some of them for the past 20 years. I've had a very colorful life experience, life journey, first coming from UKZN, then being at the CSIR for over a decade, being at the University of Pretoria in academia, and also being part of a startup, Innovon Technologies, and then now find myself here at the Agricultural Research Council. So during this life's journey, I've actually played a role in the different parts of the value chain. And it's very important that when you have the role players coming together, that they are champions that can actually understand the whole value chain, not just on paper, on theory, right, what you read and see and hear from different segregated parts, but actually someone who has been through it all, the experiences, what we hear from yesterday's session, this morning, questions that have been asked, people trying to address. So many of those things I've experienced and been through. So what we do now at the Agricultural Research Council, what has been established, is a quality control facility. It's a semi-commercial facility where we conduct research on one side. We have a group of researchers conducting the bioprospecting research, identifying new ingredients from our South African biodiversity based on our valuable indigenous knowledge, and developing these standardized ingredients. Okay, so we have specialists chemists that can identify the compounds in those plants which are responsible for the activity. So actually it's very important to have these markers these chemical markers when you are trying to put new plant ingredients and products on the market. We know the commonly traded plants, well established. There's been all the international role players using our South African biodiversity, developing great products and being sold globally. But South Africa, we know, is rich in biodiversity. Everyone's been talking about it. But who exactly is taking all these new ingredients, new plant-based ingredients, to the market? People are playing a role in identifying the ingredients, right? Academics, there's publications, patents, fantastic. Students are being trained, skills are being developed. Then we come to the science councils. They're playing a great role in manufacturing and taking these things to a certain development stage that it needs to go. And then we have the struggling MSMEs who know they have good ingredients, things that work, but it doesn't get to the market because they do not have the science backing that is needed for the regulatory approval, regulatory compliance. So we at the ARC also are in a situation now, well established, strategically positioned, that we can advise MSMEs with whatever's required for the regulatory compliance, and we actually provide that service also. You know, the other half of my facility is a group of technicians involved in providing services. So it's on the quality control, looking at quality and safety of the plants, raw materials, ingredients, as well as formulations that contain these plant-based ingredients. And then we're also in a position to be helping the traditional health practitioners to produce their minimally processed, standardized traditional medicines. So now this is not ARC on its own. It's you seeing all this, everybody sitting up here, and who's not up here. A group of scientists, indigenous knowledge holders, community representatives, government officials, entrepreneurs. Lots of people have come together over the past 2 decades trying to really make things a success in this country, really doing things now collectively so that it can be of benefit to the nation. And really, so that's why, you know, when I'm speaking over here, Dr. Rakeshni asked, why are there 2 ARC representatives? Because my colleague, Dr. Mishak Mofokeng, he is an expert, which you're going to hear from him now, right? Playing a different role in the value chain with plant supply. But with me, it's actually, I'm playing a role in quality that's across the whole value chain. And what we're currently doing now with government, in our Biopanza Innovation Cluster, led by the DSTI, Andile is here with our chairperson. And what we're trying to do is actually align all the stakeholders, mapping all the stakeholders in the country, who's playing a role in the different part of the different bioproducts value chains. And we are trying to align all the stakeholders and integrate the science and the markets and the indigenous knowledge, and really to successfully develop these new plant-based ingredients based on the indigenous knowledge. You know, there's different markets. We've got the cosmetic market with the cosmeceutical ingredients. We've got the food and beverage markets. We have the complementary medicine markets. We have the informal trading sector, huge in our country, right, that's selling traditional medicines. So we are looking at every sector and where we can really add value. So this is not about talk. 2026, we're no longer talking, things are going, you're going to see things happening. So we are here to implement, and so I'm very happy with the summit that has been organized over these few days. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Darshini. Thank you. Mrs. Pateka?
Good afternoon, colleagues. So I would like to support the statements that have been made by my colleagues, Prof. Ngeba and Dr. Naidu next to me, in terms of, you know, all of us sitting here playing a role in what we call the innovation ecosystem, a concept that was put together by the DSTI, and it's working beautifully. So, you know, the universities that we partner with, they focus on early stage research. And then you've got the ARC, which looks at sustainable supply of these plant material ingredients. And then there's ingredient development that we do, with communities, with, other partners in the NSI. And then there needs to be a translation of these ingredients that have been developed or active material into, food products, into cosmetic products, into health infusions. So we play that role as the CSIR. We've got capabilities, dedicated facilities, and we're actually able to produce this innovation at scale and supporting SMMEs, agribusinesses, communities in terms of putting in the market these quality compliant products, these regulatory compliant products in terms of, what is inside the packaging and also how it looks. So in terms of the IKS space, we've got various initiatives in the Eastern Cape, for an example, where there's an abundance of the alloferox, which is, available widely in the Eastern Cape and the Western Cape. We've got projects around that. African ginger, we're working with communities in Mpumalanga, in Limpopo, and also in KZN. And then what we've done very successfully is innovations around cannabis. As soon as the regulations were relaxed, we managed to do some innovations around that, supporting SMMEs and supporting communities. It's working beautifully. And again, it's possible because of the partnership with all the stakeholders sitting on this table. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Perhaps I'm going to juggle it around for the last few. Let's start with Prof. Makotso.
Good afternoon, colleagues, or is it still morning?
Good day.
Good day. Thank you. So I'm based at the Northwest University, and we are placed on the northwest part of the country. Mainly we have two capabilities that I would like to speak to, because we have two campuses at Mafikeng and also at Potchefstroom. When you look at the Mafikeng campus, we have the IKS Center there. Part of their role is to train undergraduates in IKS programs, which is a part of the plan from the DSTI. Secondly, because of the infrastructure and the team there, we're well placed to work with the community, specifically to be part of documentation and preserving the knowledge. That way, our postgraduate students work very closely with the communities to go in, do surveys for the primary purpose of preservation of knowledge, because we all know that most of the knowledge sits with the elderly people. Unless that is documented, we can easily lose that knowledge. So a huge part that's focusing in the Mahikeng environment, it's about documentation and preservation, which forms part of the core or the start of the ecosystem. And once we have documented those plans, then we have an ecosystem or a value pipeline that allows us to do quality, as my colleagues have mentioned, to identify the plants. And because most of these plants that we are documenting are indigenous plants, most of them are not yet studied. And there's very limited knowledge or scientific knowledge that's written or available online. So we need to contribute to generate that type of data. So that's part of it. And then on the second part, where I sit at the Potch campus, I am at the preclinical drug development platform. On the one side, when I'm wearing my research hat, then I take some of those plants that were documented amongst the communities and generate scientific data so that we have much more knowledge that's documented and also supported with scientific data using animal models. On the other hand, as the PCDDP, we also work with industry and work with a lot of the science councils here. When the SMMEs reach out to CSIR, CSIR will do their part, and then the animal studies, the toxicology studies, will then come to us in Potchefstroom. Why that is important, we are the only accredited GLP tox lab in the country. And that's one of the premium services that we offer to ensure that as the community, as the SMMEs are on their journey to develop specifically the health-related IKS innovations, GLP toxicology is part of the requirements for regulatory. So that is a very important service that we offer to support either the universities, the science councils, or even the SMMEs. So in terms of the Northwest Head, that's mainly our contribution in the ecosystem of IKS. So we're really grateful to be part of that and to share that at the summit. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Can we then have Prof. Namrata?
Good day, everyone. Myself and my team, we are involved with scientific validation of medicinal plants for pharmaceutical and cosmetic purposes. My colleagues have already mentioned about the rich biodiversity we have, and I would like to give you, start with a positive note. We have got vincristine, vinblastine. Those are like anti-cancer compounds coming from this region, from Africa. Also, there are many more examples. Lintigan we see in pharmacy. Now, having third largest biodiversity in the world, there should be many more coming. So what are we doing? We are, thanks to the government, university, council, consortium members, my colleagues, we have come as a team and we are trying to see what we can, how do we harness the potential of plants. So my research involves our team. What we are doing is we are looking into the cancer property because South Africa is when it comes to melanoma, skin cancer, it is third largest in the world, the incidence is because of the UV radiation here. So people are looking into anti-cancer drugs, so we are working on anti-cancer, also for breast cancer, pharmaceutical side, for liver protection, antibacterial result, tuberculosis and so on. And on wellness industry, cosmetics, we have got many cosmetics coming into the country, but do we have anything for aging, for when you use your toothpaste, you see tea tree oil, you see clove. Why can't we have anything from South African plant? So we have got, I would like to announce now that because everything has gone through, we have got this wild lavender tree, and it will be for the first time oral care product coming from South African plants. So this is just to tell you the potential we have in this country. And in addition to that, whole lot of products for skin disorders like aging, hydration, it's pigmentation, all those kinds of things. So our team, we take it, we start with basic research, then we do the toxicology, and with topical application, nice thing is that you don't have to do animal studies. It can go straight in human trial. So some of the things we do it in South Africa. I encourage that so that the students can be involved. And for some, we do depend on international collaborators. Here I would like to say with SMME, what we are doing for the community, we try to work hand in hand. We have developed an online course, as a short course, which is helping the SMMEs and people from the community to get some knowledge about the plant-based compounds. They come to the laboratory, we teach them how to do formulations like making cosmetics, toothpaste, mouthwash, and even tablets and capsules and so on. And then what I realized was that in this continent, we don't have a society where we can come together and we can talk about and we can have a conference and meeting. So we came up with an idea of forming a society. It's African Phytomedicine Scientific Society. I would just like to mention that to all of you. And through this society, we are trying to come together and help one another and see how we can make use of the infrastructure we have and not just help the researchers from South Africa, but also from the continent. So I'll stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Lal. And then Mishak, Prof.
Thank you very much. And I think while I'm the last to speak, the work that we do actually comes first. My colleagues and in our collaboration in the consortium and with other universities and science councils, our work looks at sustainable supply of your plant material. I think my colleague, Dr. Naidu Maharaj, has mentioned the other aspect that we do at the ARC. But I think we can agree that while product development is the end goal for in the value chain, the sustainable supply of good quality material is critical. Starting from collection of the correct germplasm, maintenance thereof, we also develop propagation techniques, cultivation methods to support the sustainable supply. Now, I think there was a study that was done, and the markets would say that they are paying lower prices and they don't frequently buy from the same community. Yes. One, because of unsustainability in terms of supply. As a market, if you go there every month and you don't get what you're looking for, you look for alternatives. But also, inconsistency in the quality of the plant material that they get plays a critical role in the end product. So our work is looking at the agronomic practices that can be implemented to ensure that communities can start growing these plants, but while they are growing them, ensure sustainable supply, but maintain the quality as per the market standards. So communities also, when they were asked, why are you always harvesting from the wild and not growing these plants? They would say that we don't have the basic material to start growing. So it talks to the propagation thereof, but also the know-how in terms of how to grow these plants. You know, I always make an example to say, if you ask Google how to grow spinach, you'll get all the information. But if you say how to grow African potato, chances are you will not get anything. And that is our role, where we're starting to develop cultivation practices, propagation techniques for the communities. And we collaborate with different government departments to transfer the technology, because it is of no use for us to develop the techniques and keep the information in the offices. We need to transfer the technology to the communities. We collaborate with different departments and organizations across the different provinces. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we have rich expertise and capabilities amongst our panelists. So is there any questions that you'd like to pose? Yep, there's one. Two. Okay, let's take them.
Thank you very much.
Please introduce yourself and to which panelist you'd like to have your question posed.
All right. Yeah, maybe I must stand up so that you can see me. Yeah, Gina Lele Morole from Mafikeng campus, IKA Center. I have questions for Prof. Matsabisa and Makgotso. The first one is, how do you distinguish between hemp and cannabis? Do you look at the physical properties or the chemical properties? I mean the THC, and who determines the percentage of that if you use the chemical properties? Or do you look at the psychotic? Because we that use cannabis, we know by smoking it if this one is hemp or this one is cannabis. Or do you look at the spiritual properties? Because cannabis can also be used for spiritual properties where you chase away the tokolosi and evil spirits. And then the second question is, how do you change the negative perception and attitudes of people towards cannabis that is based on colonial legacy, that cannabis make people mad and all that? And then thirdly, how do those that fought for cannabis, were jailed, were persecuted, benefit from your research? And then lastly, sure. Have you ever smoked cannabis? Have you ever drank or eaten it? So those are my 4 questions. And then lastly, to Prof. Makgotso, how do communities from which you collect these plants benefit from your research? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very loaded question, huh, Prof? There's another hand that was up. Perhaps we can take this round.
Dumelang bakgetso. My question goes to ARC and CSIR. In terms of, do you do infrastructure? Do you do infrastructure development? Number two, it will be issue if somebody needs to do the testing, what are the requirements? Because in my product, I want to to check donkey meat properties and also donkey milk properties in terms of shelf life and other things that you think. And also the issue of how science meets with indigenous knowledge, because some of the things we grew up knowing that they work, but today science tells you that you need to do something for that thing to work. For argument's sake, in Mafikeng, where I come from, people would prefer to consume donkey milk raw as it is. But you go to a science lab, they will tell you that you need to pasteurize the milk. And while people, they believe that by pasteurizing the milk, you are actually killing some of the properties that our body needs. Then the science will tell you and we know our body needs it. And also it's an acknowledgement to professor from the University of Northwest, but my plea to her is if they can allocate more funds to IKS department, because today when you go to IKS department in Northwest University, it looks like a theology department. There's nothing that you can say this is an IKS center. So it needs really to be improved so that when you bring someone new to the department, that particular person might be enticed to see things there. Because I went around there, I'm here on a ticket of IKS department, thanks to Dr. Montero, but they really need to improve the image of the IKS. At least theology department, you get the Bible there, but in your IKS, nothing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we'll start with Prof. Motelepula. You'll answer the first set of questions.
Thank you so much. I thought the other bit of the question about whether Mahotso smokes it or drinks it, she was going to answer that. But indeed, thank you so much for that question. That the first, I think you were asking, how then do we distinguish, between hemp and cannabis, dacha? In terms of looking at the plants, it's not possible that you could do that. So the best way that's referred to as your medical cannabis or your dacha, while if it has got a very low THC relative to your CBD, then it's referred to as hemp. And then there was also another question that you were asking about spirituality. Science has got its limitations as well. So science cannot solve everything. And as I sit here currently, science may not be in a position, to deal with spiritual aspect, not unless my colleagues here would help. So we would then tend to work with tangible things that I think we can test for. So science is also not perfect. That's the best we could say. But we may understand that there's something that's supernatural that we still have to learn. Perceptions. How then do we, I think, remove the perceptions, that cannabis makes people mad or things like that? It's about education and education. I like saying that if indeed cannabis was so bad, have you ever seen a very violent Rastafarian? Okay? That's a simple question. Have you ever seen a violent Rastafarian if cannabis was so bad? You have not. And therefore, sometimes we take the ills that we have and try and find a quick solution to label things incorrectly. Cannabis may be mixed with other things, and therefore you cannot then criminalize it. Here's a simple example. Some people take nyaupe, which is they combine ARVs and some other funny things. But we may not stand up and say ARVs are bad, because that's what people are doing. So similarly with cannabis, if you were to take it, mix it with alcohol, mix it with some other things, possibly that combination could be the one that's a lethal one. I think earlier on I mentioned that we're busy with a study where we want to check, one, the oral dose, because you talked about whether a cow, if it eats cannabis, it will have a high. We are busy looking at that to say, does that really happen? But what science knows is if you have extracts of cannabis and within that you have THC and you have CBD, CBD tends to mask and counteract the effect of THC. In science, we call that an allosteric reaction. So you will not have the effects of THC if there is CBD. And again, I want to say, the reason why it's like so, there are two studies. One is you will never currently find pure drugs in the market that are just pure THC or pure CBD. The current drugs that are there are extracts, they are mixtures, simply because they understand that you cannot take THC in isolation. The other reason was a study that was done in New York where they took pure THCs, and it was a small clinical trial, and everybody that was given that became a zombie. It is for this reason that the FDA in the US has banned the registration of pure chemical cannabinoids, because in isolation, cannabinoids are not good, they are bad. Okay, about smoking, personally, I have not smoked cannabis. I stopped smoking when I was at the university because I got hallucinations, so I stopped that. But I have not eaten any cannabis cookies, so we will wait until our study concludes to say what happens with the oral dosage forms of cannabis. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Prof, and thank you for your honesty as well.
Those that fought for cannabis and were jailed and persecuted for this herb benefit from the research that you do?
The people were persecuted historically for the use of this herb, and how do you now return back to those communities?
Thank you so much. I actually nearly forgot. I sit in the Presidential Cannabis and Hemp Development Plan. And one of the things I think that we have undertaken was to say those communities that have been persecuted, and taken, I think, to jail, if they are conscious of using cannabis, need not be left out when we develop the industry of cannabis. We refer to them as legacy farmers. And I have 3 projects where we are piloting in the Eastern Cape. The bringing of those communities up on the mountains that have been growing cannabis and working with them so that then the cannabis that they develop can get into the proper value chains of cannabis development. So there is now a move, to recognize and accept that there are people that have been using cannabis and they then need to benefit, they need to be part of the economy development around cannabis.
Thank you very much, Prof. At least we now we are all comforted knowing that it's at that presidential level. The next set of questions links to ARC and Northwest. So let's start with Dashni. And CSR, yeah, okay. Let's start,
okay. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that question about infrastructure development. Yes, at the CSR we have engineers that are able to do what we call, facility design, identify equipment, make sure that there's commissioning of that equipment, process is validated, and we also do capacity building. Like the people that need to work on the equipment need to be trained. So we have various projects that we've implemented. Currently we have 2 projects that we're implementing around infrastructure development in the Eastern Cape and also in KZN. And then the next question was around shelf life studies. Yes, we have capabilities to assist small businesses, SMMEs, communities, to conduct shelf life testing in their end products. And then the last question was around science meeting IKS. So we do have programs that are tailor-made to support traditional knowledge holders. So this will be typically Babucha Debede making a mixture of 7 plants and wanting us to do some validation. So it starts with tox studies. Prof from Northwest mentioned that they support us with that work, so we need to do that. And also, we need to make sure that the standard of mixing this cocktail of 7 plants is the same, so that there's consistency and the quality of the product that you get at the end is the same. So we do have tailor-made projects that we implement with knowledge holders, and we call that co-creation, because we're not saying, change the 7 or the 10 plants that you use to make this mixture, but we're saying there needs to be compliance in terms of quality, there needs to be compliance in terms of regulations. Thank you.
So how can an IKS SMME tap into those capabilities? Where would you find how to contact and how to make a booking to come through and test their product?
So they can check our website, csir.co.za. Sometimes we do issue what we call an expression of interest, inviting SMMEs, communities, small businesses, where all that scientific work will be done at no fee to the knowledge holders. Other than that, our details are available on our website. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a follow-up question? Yes.
My problem is the issue of, you ask a question and you get to be referred to the website. Whether you go to the website or not, sometimes I have a problem of being referred to a website. I think if she gives us the name of the person to contact, because the issue of being referred to a website
I think at lunchtime you better sit next to her because she's the contact.
Yeah. My details are on the website. My name is there.
Can you please give us your contact numbers and everything? Can you please not refer us to the website? Because the challenge about the website is sometimes you don't even have a data to do something to go to the website, or you don't have something there. And in terms of the infrastructure, does it include building? They build from scratch. They say this is what, or they are only covering machinery or what?
Okay. Is it equipment or is it a building that we are looking at, or is it a mixture of both?
Oh, yes, it's the building. I know that in Mpumalanga, for an example, in Komazi, we partnered with the ARC, where we had to put up the actual building. And ARC did that component. What we did was facility layout and, identifying the equipment, procurement thereof. University of Pretoria was the lead in that project, and that was fully funded by the DSTI.
Thank you. Are you happy? I'll come around for another round of questions. I just want Makotso to respond to the Northwest facilities. Now that question was raised.
Thank you. So in terms of how we give back to the community, it always looks different with every project. Previously, we have included the knowledge holder as one of the co-authors in a research paper. That was one of the mechanisms. Another mechanism that we have also used is going back to the communities and sharing some of the techniques that can help, science-based techniques that can help in terms of improving the quality of their products. And as you may recall, Dr. Morule, either in March or April, I can't recall, with the collaboration with the ARC, we went back for a community engagement, showing the communities some of the products that came out of that knowledge, such as tea bags and so on. So that's what we have done so far. Going forward, we are in discussions and looking for funding rather, and collaborations to see how we can have a better value chain where the community members can come and we're able to support them with research data that could ultimately lead to products. Because we do have a lot of requests from communities, but currently with the resources that we have, we're not able as yet, like the UFS is currently doing, to be able to support the product development of communities currently. But we are looking into it. What was regarding the infrastructure of the IKS unit, I'm in the technical space, but I'm sure that people at management are looking into that concern regarding infrastructure of the IKS. So I'm not in a position to make any comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we take another round of questions?
Going to add regarding the evaluation of your products, specifically the donkey's milk for the nutritional properties. We can do that at the ARC. You can speak to me and get my contact details after this. So we do the mineral elements analysis as well. So whatever you need to identify in the products, as well as the shelf life testing, we also offer that services.
I just want to affirm at this point, I know I see a few hands. 1, 2, 3, okay. 4. So wherever our technical guys are, please bring the microphones out. Whilst we're doing that, I'd just like to please remind us of the Protection of Personal Information Act, POPIA. So you won't necessarily get everyone's personal details and cell phone numbers on websites, unless you're a government employee, right? Then you're sworn in and you have to do that. So use the summit, use this investment space, network. You're coming in through the different plenaries and the different breakaway rooms. Use this to network. See who it is that connects with you, resonates with you. Ask the questions. And of course, through consent, you can get all the contact details, set up follow-up meetings as well. Because the conversation doesn't end here over the next few days. It should continue. You should nurture them, and we should sustain them, because that's the only way we're going to grow and nurture this space. But let me pause and take another round of questions, right? We're starting, yes?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Andile Grootboom from the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation.
Andile's cell phone will be on the website.
Yeah, it's freely available on my emails as well. I have one comment and two questions. The first comment is that, especially to the panel members that are sitting there, and including those who are in Terminal A and some who are not there, A special thanks to them because the work that they are doing, that have been doing, especially in the last 10 years, has been pivotal for us, the department, and for the sector. And they are expert scientists in the field, and I wanted to express our gratitude on behalf of
the department. Thank you very much for raising that, Andile.
So the questions, I have two questions. The one is, as scientists, you're sitting in a very strategic part of the value chain between the communities or indigenous knowledge and the downstream commercialization. So you have established clearly strong relations with the IKS community of practice, which is the upstream part of the value chain. My question basically is general, anyone can answer it, is how does the downstream part of the value chain look like with your experience? What are your partnerships looking like in terms of the industry? Because obviously we want to take your research outputs to the markets. So if anyone could answer that one. And lastly, we in the department, for this kind of work, to advance it over almost 2 decades, I think, started before my time, we faced a lot of challenges. One key one is the institutional buy-in, where we have to explain our role and why this work is key and important for the country. So I can imagine that the scientists are also facing similar challenges within their institutions. Could you just explain to us some of the challenges you might have faced? Because this work has been under a lot of, sometimes attack, and they have serious opponents in the value chains. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question? Yes, a lady in the front. Oh, we could go through.
Thank you very much, Chair. Andile took away the comment that I was going to put up front, but mine was going to be, I know all of them. I know what they have done. And to me, they are preaching to the converted and the choir. What is missing in the conversation, they have facilitated innovation in the IKS space. But what is missing is the same question that Andile is asking. Where is the next level? Where is the DTIC in the next path to commercialization? And I'll give my experiences in the next slot why that is significant. So that's the question to the panel. But unlike him, I'll put it differently. What is the pushback that you get, or that the DSTI get from DITC, or has their relationship with the DTIC improved over the 20 years? Because we seem to be spinning the same wheel, and there's no exit for any of these products that we envisage, which I believe the South African market and the world is ready for. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I'm Busisiwe Mahlare from Rodi Wellness. I've got 3 questions for the panel. My first question is, what are the basic tests that SMMEs need to do or have done on their products that allow them ready for market? My product, for instance, has went through SABS, where they worked with the University of Limpopo to do a few tests, and some of the tests done was the anti-inflammatory characteristics of the product, antibacterial, antioxidant, and so forth. And with that said, can I now confidently make the claim that my products have these characteristics and SAPRA won't come after me? That's my and then the third thing is that are clinical trials actually necessary for IKS based products. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The lady here, and then the gentleman with the red.
Good day, everyone. My name is Timbili Hlenyembe, and I work for an investment firm called Kai Connect. I'm not very familiar with, this is sort of all new to me, and so I'm just learning about IKS and all the stuff. So right now, I was just interested to understand when you talk, because the topic is about health and well-being. So when you talk about well-being, is it more so from a medicinal aspect? Is it just, the type of medical products that we take out there need to account obviously for well-being, or are there other aspects to it? Are there maybe services that we provide that can, that come from an IKS perspective, or is it maybe other products that are not necessarily medical products as well?
Okay, thank you. Gentleman with the red.
Good morning, colleagues. I've been waiting, finally. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. Look, I have a few questions, and they might interlink with some of the questions that have already been asked. So when you answer, maybe you also feed them into that. But I was listening to all of you, and I work in the space of what we call economic activation at the University of Venda. And the context of my question comes from the fact that I'm working with students who are focused in the IKS space. They were pitching yesterday, and a lot of their products or their innovations are part of welfare and nutrition and so on and so on. And there's just an understanding or a lack of direction as to where they should take their products or their inventions from there. Like, what's the next step for them? So I want to start with, I hope it's Prof. Motlalepula. Is it Prof. with the
Matsabisa.
Matsabisa, yes. He spoke about that there's a procedure for products to follow, these basic research, formulation trials, and all in all. I want to ask is there a roadmap for IKS holders, students, and community members to follow in the development of their IKS-based medicinal products? And the good souls here also asked, what are the requirements thereof? That's the first question. Then to Dr. Deshni Naidu, she spoke about a quality control facility with regards to the ARC. I just don't know where it is, but perhaps maybe I want to find out where is it, how do we get there, how do we access it? And I want to speak to the question that one of the sirs asked. He said he doesn't want to speak to a website, And it's okay, I understand. Websites are quite frustrating, especially when we're decentralized away from where the facilities are. You want to maybe look at, and perhaps this is my suggestion to say, as a university that's historically disadvantaged and is very distant, we want to maybe look like co-creation programs that enable the innovation ecosystem you have built to tap into our areas, our students and our place and our context that maybe then works with us, So that's the second question. The third question is that it's the same thing. So do we have a structured approach? Is there a structured approach to work with different contexts, different HDIs, different regions and sub-regions across South Africa? Or is it something that the innovation ecosystem is working towards? And how do we then, as an institution, jump into play into that? I'd love to be part of that table and that discussion as it happens. To Prof. Makotso at NWU and Ms. Pateka Nzotoi, Prof. Makotso speaks of a PCDP, a preclinical drug development platform. And I was like, is this an arm of the university? Is it owned by the university? And how did the university go about establishing such? Because you said you are the only institution or the only platform within the country that's allowed to do GLP toxicology, right? I don't know what that is, but it sounds fascinating. And I want to know maybe how then other universities can learn from you guys, or borrow intelligently to also develop such facilities. That also speaks to Ms. Pateka Nzotoi, where she speaks of infrastructure development, to say what means or how do we then go about approaching and getting access to such fundings and resources and grants. And then the last thing is, it's also true, Ms. Nzotro, is to say, but all these questions are open to anyone, right? Is to say, just hold on. You speak of issuing of expression of interests and all, but how can we co-create? You speak of co-creation yourself. Can we co-create? Can we do something for the different regions that would be very centered for the different regions? And then that would answer a lot of the things for what's taking us to the next level. How do we know that SMME's products are market ready, asked by the young lady that side, and so on and so on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sure, there's a lot of questions in this round. So let me just direct questions to everybody in the panel. So we'll start with the last set of questions going to Prof. Matsabisa, all right? The health and well-being, what does this mean in terms of medicinal or nutraceutical and the value chain capabilities around IKS? Can that go to Makotso? Northwest. We are looking then at Pateka and Darshni, looking at the QC facilities, accessing it, clinical trials, SAPRA, tests needed to enter the market. Thank you. And Prof. Namrata, we're going to look at, because you are at that position where you've got products, you have them lined up, what role do you see DTIC taking in terms of taking it up and moving industries forward? We all know what happened. We were the first ones to develop the electric vehicle. What happened? This is where the whole of government approach failed us. So what is it that we need to push for? And Neba, what are the challenges faced at universities as IKS-based researchers? I think I tried to summarize as much. So let's go for it. We'll start on one end.
Thank you. I'm going to start because the gentleman was talking about donkeys and talking about the IKS Center at Northwest. May not have an insight of the forces that we face in doing IKS research. Life at universities is not nice. And so it's a place of, when I was a student activist, we used to say, education is a site of struggle. So I want to say that because you may not appreciate what our colleagues at Northwest are battling to turn the IKS Center not to be like a theology school. So we need to understand that historically our education system has evolved with kind of a colonial culture, a colonial sense. So when you come, I'm in a medical school to say I'm doing traditional medicine, full of doctors and professors and stuff. You don't start with people clapping behind your back and say, go for it. They start by saying, what? In this university, over our dead bodies? And that's the context. You don't start by people cheering you, go for it, and go for it. So it's a hassle. How do we win the battle? The universities are places of research and education, so it means that your research must be top class. You need to get grants to do the research. They don't come free. You compete. And so you earn your respect with time by showing that what you are doing is not inferior to any other professor in the space. And you graduate students, they produce quality work that needs to be done. Yet on the one side, you've got an indigenous knowledge holder who comes to you with very high expectations, and they don't understand that you don't sit with a pocket of money that is just ready. When someone comes to you at a university, you don't have a budget for that project. You still need to raise the money to do that project. So I think that is important to understand. And the second part is that in the funding space where you apply for grants, there's no one waiting for you to come with what appears to be a great indigenous knowledge idea. You're competing with other scientists who are also have their own ideas to compete for. So it's therefore, it's not like you have a freeway. You're doing IKS and everyone is waiting to give you money to do anything that you want. It's a contested space. It's a competitive space that we also need to be part of. But you have to show your own excellence. I mean, there's other politics that one doesn't want to deal with in this environment. But that's really the gist of it that people need to appreciate. And therefore, to get to our big break, the big breaks, I'm doing projects on medicine. Eventually, you need to find the cure for HIV. You need to find the cure for cancer. That's where your respect comes from. But those are not cheap studies. They are not very cheap studies to get to there. But you do need the belief and the support from our government. I'm using our government as a state, but of course there are other funders that are not our government, but they will trust us and respect us from the outputs and the quality of the research that we do. So it's not an easy world out there. It's a dog eat dog, but we also have to fight for our space in that space. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes.
Are you cutting the line, Darshni?
Yes, because actually I have something to say about each of these. I need to respond to each of these questions because I think I have been playing a role across the value chain. So with regards to industry, the first question, it's actually two of our colleagues in the audience asked questions related to industry involvement, taking products to the market, being successfully commercialized based on the research and innovation space that we are playing in. Well, we have been successful in some of the innovations that have been developed within the consortiums because there has been a company, a well-established South African company that has taken our ingredients that we developed and has put it on the market. It's currently being sold. Let me tell you what industry is looking for. You have to have a competitive advantage. Why are they going to take this new ingredient versus every other ingredient on the shelves? Because at the end of the day, they want to make money. They're in the business to make a profit, to earn a living. In this country, we have regulations in place, so benefits will go back to the community and indigenous knowledge holders. However, you need to take into consideration when you're speaking to industry. Like I've seen the pitching session yesterday, lots of questions asked by investors, right? These are things that the students and other MSMEs, as they call it these days, have not considered, is that even when you go to the DTIC, they are interested in, you have to have something at proof of concept. You have to have your scientific data backing it. You need to have a business plan, a proper business plan, not just coming up with, I believe I can produce this amount of products and it's going to sell. You can produce those products. You can even have shelf space. But how confident are you that people are actually going to buy your product amongst all the hundreds of products all over distribution points in the country? So we successfully took a new hair care product, a new hair growth ingredient to the market. And another thing that they need, industry needs, is established plant supply. That's why I said there's the commonly traded plants where plant supply is established. And we at the ARC, we have the expertise, and that's what we're doing now, is that when we see that there is the market demand for something, we will start growing it, establish the cultivation sites, establish that plant supply. What has been a stumbling block, really, with MSMEs and even the technologies that's coming out from this consortiums that the DSTI has established, is that there's fantastic ingredients, as Prof. Lal mentioned, she developed products. They get licensed to MSMEs. What then? They are stuck. Not just investment, but where's the manufacturing taking place of these new ingredients? That supply of the ingredient that needs to go into those formulations to get onto the market is not in place. So there's the commercial manufacturers in this country, and they will not touch a small batch of plant material being introduced into their factories. They're not interested. We need to have manufacturing facilities that will actually assist traditional health practitioners, MSMEs, and with our technologies coming out. So with the ARC, with the CSIR, we are here to assist in that development process, going from lab scale, pilot scale, assisting in preparing dossiers, really providing all the data. But then you need this manufacturing facilities that will really assist MSMEs. When you want to go globally and that market demand increases, you then need a much larger supply of your plant material and ingredients, and that's when you go to these commercial manufacturers. And through this whole, with the DSTI and other government departments have been trying to have this inclusive innovation model where we get the communities working together to be empowered and to be part of the supply chain, but there's been lots of challenges also in corruption, in not having business skills, in not being sustainable, in agro-processing businesses that have been developed. So through our experiences, we've been seeing how we can actually empower them to have like farmers in the areas to actually support them so together they can be sustainable and successful in being part of the value chain and generating income. Everybody's been talking, you know, you hear the politicians, you hear people in government positions always talking about economic growth, social impact. Well, these are things that we need to see what needs to be put in place on the ground so that we can actually achieve that. With regards to health and well-being, it was actually this well-being came out from also involving the cosmetic application. So we are here today talking about the bioproduct space. So everything that we can do with our biodiversity linked to the indigenous knowledge. And so the health and well-being from your medicines, complementary medicines, cosmetics, nutraceuticals, food, it all contributes the well-being of people, right? Mentally and emotionally. Whatever we feed our body, apply, you know, it contributes the health and well-being over there. And so you can contact me regarding the quality control facility, which is in Pretoria North. Thank you.
Deshni, thank you so much. If you allow me,
yes.
There are, I think, 4 points. One from, I think, Ndate Madie here, there were issues about basic tests. There was health and well-being. And then there were aspects of infrastructure. But let me just summarize and answer those. One, I really need to go back and Ndate Tim Kulu. Really, thank you so much for your perseverance. I think the things are bearing fruit. In the main hall, I did not state that working group, which is looking at the review of the Medicines Act, the money actually came from the Department of Science and Technology. For us to begin to say the Medicines Act is old, we cannot continue patching it and making amendments. We need to come up with a new bill. But also the platform, I'll come to that, the platform that I'm in, the African Medicines Innovations and Technology Development. It is a platform supported by the Department of Science and Technology, TIA, the University of the Free State, but also we have the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform, and Rural Development. They have played a role in helping us to address two things. What we do, we are there to give support to communities, to SMMEs, to entrepreneurs, to do those tests. Again, I will say free of charge. So they would come, we talk to us, and we look at what they would want. But also more importantly, we create new innovations based on that information. And lastly, we do contract research for the pharmaceutical industry. Those of you who may know Umuti Wenyoni, who may know the gripe water, the Woodward's gripe water, those things were actually reformulated by us That's why they are in the market today. So we address research needs of communities, we address research needs of industry. Now for communities, for instance, rural development put in multi-million rand infrastructure in the communities. In the Northwest, I think, Kubung, Mohola, there is an infrastructure that they put in there for communities to develop their teas. They have done the same in the Eastern Cape, Alice, and near Butterworth. What also that has happened was, based on that, we, in terms of internationalization, we won the World Health Organization competition, Heritage to Health. And the World Health is now going to incubate us and those communities to make those health infusions available globally in the World Health regions. And I think that's another plus that we're getting somewhere, to internationalize what we are doing. And then, Datemadi, you talked about what's the next step? Where are we? Where's DTIC? Where's small business? In the last few weeks, I think the Department of Small Business Development has now shown interest in Timkulu to say they want to come, they want to partner, they want to come and assist. In fact, their DG is planning to visit us to begin to say, where can small business come and help? So that's another thing. The question about basic tests, we do anything that has to do with safety, anything that has to do with the effectiveness of the product, and then the quality. You know, you don't want to go to the airport with 20 liters of a medicine. They will take it. So we then need to help and improve the quality so that it becomes acceptable. Now, when you ask about basic tests, it depends really on what you want to claim for, okay? If you want to claim for something, then we look at that and say, these are the tests that you need to do, and these are the tests that will help you at least have these products be acceptable by SAPRA. Our facility is an ISO 17095 facility, and we're moving into having our methods to be SANAS accredited methods. We are working with with SAPRA to have that facility as a SAPRA facility so that we can do what we call post-importation testing of products that SAPRA wants to bring into the country. So in terms of the basic tests, come and talk to us and then we'll guide you and help you in terms of what needs to happen. Lastly, I think, Chair, it was the issue about health and well-being. Health is not the absence of a disease. Health is more than that. So the WHO is also moving into what we now call One Health. A healthy environment, a healthy continent, makes us all healthy. And that inclusivity that WHO is talking about, it's captured in the WHO strategy, the new strategy 2025 to 2034 strategy, where WHO is now making emphasis about generating evidence on traditional medicines. And I'm not saying scientific evidence, we are saying as WHO, you generate evidence about the use, safety and efficacy of traditional medicines. In that strategy, WHO is also now saying communities need to be integral, in the development of their knowledge. In the same strategy, WHO is talking about commercialization and accessibility of traditional medicines products. I think we should, as a country, take that, advantage and move on to begin to commercialize our traditional medicines. Thank you so much. We train students, so we also host and accept students. So if there are students, we have done so with students from, Uganda, everywhere. So they would come spend time in our lab, we teach them. The only thing that we do not do We do not want someone to say, do that for us. We don't want to be turned into technicians. So if you want something to be done, you bring your samples, you come into the lab, and then you do the samples while we train you, so that you can take, I think, the technologies back, I think, to your institutions or back to your country. But don't phone and say, can you do that for us? We will refuse. Rather send a student or come yourself, and then you do that, I think, with us while we transfer the skills. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Brilliant. I think our whole suite of questions from round 2 has been answered. So let me ask the rest of our panelists to share with us, what do you think is the greatest opportunity for South Africa's IKS sector to become a global leader and enter global markets over the next 10 years? We've heard from our colleagues, so let's start. We'll start on the other end, no? This time around. So
Thank you. I just need to respond to the last question.
Yeah.
Yes, as the PCDDP, we are housed fully within the university. We're just part of the commercialization strategy of the university, and I'm happy to discuss further after this. So in terms of opportunity, I think this is one of the first opportunities, the first that DSTI has brought us all into one room to integrate, to ensure that when we leave this place, the knowledge can ultimately get to the shelf. Because investors are here, which generally for the longest of time, that's what was missing in the ecosystem or in the value chain. So this is part of the first opportunity. Number 2, what we see with our students is a lot of students that come from provinces where we function predominantly in the Northwest, but we do work in Eastern Cape, KZN, Mpumalanga, and Limpopo, is because the students that originate from those communities, they want to do research in their locality. That's also an advantage because they are coming for training, but they are going back to their communities to be ambassadors and advocates of taking the knowledge all the way into commercialization. So that's part of the beginning. And also, what Prof. Matshabisa has mentioned, the world is moving into plant-based, into One Health. And the knowledge in the room is any creativity we can be, we want to be, it's possible. But do we, as Africans, believe that we can now lead and really contribute economically?
Yeah. Okay.
So that is the question.
Thank you very, very much. Prof. Namrita?
Thank you. I would like to start with, again, a comment, positive comment. I would say South African plants are definitely ready to get into global market. When it comes to pharmaceutical, it takes little longer because it's ingested and there's a lot more results needed, animal testing, then human trial. But when it comes to cosmetics, I would say that, I don't want to boast, but I have to mention that my team is sitting with 46 patents. And patents in US, European countries and all, it's not easy. But because we have proven that local plants are with, with very good efficacy, and it has got a novel target, so that's how it is new. And in addition to that, these plants are sustainable. So yes, we have got the products and the whole value chain, everyone is benefited. When it comes to cultivation of plants, farmers are cultivating, they can sell those plants and generate income for themselves. And actually I was getting ready for this summit, and if you see my stand, there are finished formulated cosmetic products, and I'm asking around everyone, is the packaging looks good? Is the fragrance good? So you guys have to give us feedback. So I would say yes, we are ready with 15 finished product. It has taken us 20 to 25 years. Please don't be discouraged. I learned a lot over the years. So if you come to me, it won't take that long. It will be 5 years. I can promise you, I've learned a lot over the years. And yes, it is ready, but the challenge, yes, I would talk about the challenges that we are ready, the finished products are ready. And to answer your questions on industry, what do we do now? There are 15 SMMEs producing these products but they do not have marketing skills. How do they take it to Discam and Clicks? How do they take it outside South Africa? That's where we need help with the with the government. Government has really helped us to come to this stage. We need more help from Department of Trade and Industry, IDC, and also someone who can help us with export and things like that. We have got no idea what to do now. So thank you very much for asking me that important questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think this is where DBE and DTIC comes into play. Mishak.
Thank you very much. So the question of how do we see the future?
Yeah.
I think one can mention that for a number of years back, the DSTI has been one of the few government departments that looked into IKS seriously. Yeah. But today we can say we see a number of departments being involved. And that is good for the country, for the knowledge holders, and it provides opportunities for further development. We have seen the stalls where our knowledge holders are displaying their products there. Another opportunity which shows that between the knowledge holders and researchers, now that trust is there. I think for many years there has been little trust between researchers and knowledge holders, where researchers were blamed to just go to the community, take information and disappear. But that has been addressed through various platforms, which provides an opportunity for further developments. I think Prof. Matsabisa has mentioned a lot of avenues, opportunities internationally, and Prof. Lal has also mentioned a lot of opportunities. But overall, I can say as a consortium and platforms, we are available for knowledge holders, communities, to tap into different skills, knowledges, so that we can together build this industry.
Thank you. And Mrs. Pateka.
Thank you, Chair. Next steps for IKS.
Yeah.
So in our assessment, we think that we need to be moving forward to producing these IKS-based ingredients and products at scale. We need dedicated facilities, most probably being run by SMMEs, to produce these ingredients, to produce these end products as well. And I suppose this then answers Andile's question on downstream value chain, partnerships, what are they looking like? At the CSIR, we're exploring that area of putting up a facility that's going to be dedicated to produce at scale, and these will be cosmeceuticals. And in there, the DSTI is very much involved, DTIC and DSBD. So this is to support the sector. So it's a start, but there is a need for a dedicated nutraceuticals, health infusions, including the ingredients that are related. So that will be the next, big thing that we need to do as a collective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in acknowledging our panelists for their excellent contributions and discussion.